I'm calling this Raleigh Transit Authority meeting to order today, Thursday, November 9th at 3:37 p.m. We'll start with the introductions to our left.
Latanya Williams.
Jennifer Truman.
Talulupe Omokaye.
Karen Renge.
Leo Suarez.
Mark Teague.
Thank you. Are there any revisions or additions to the agenda? Okay. Oh, I do want something. I do want to add something. Can we get an update? We talked about it earlier, but I want the authority updated on any incidents or safety, the safety stuff that we talked about with the officers.
Yeah, so we would actually cover that under the general manager's report.
Okay, perfect.
Item 5.
All right. If there's no additions to the agenda, we will go ahead and get started. Do we have any public comment today so far? Okay. All right, so it looks like the first action item is recognition of members rotating off the RTA board. Oh.
All right, so we do have a couple of I guess, plaques here for Ms. Karen Renge and Talulupe Omokaye. You guys have been with us for quite a while. Before you come up and we get some photos and we present the plaques here, wanted to just read through a couple of things. Talulupe, you actually were appointed as an alternate on November 20th of 2016. You became a full member on November 8th of 2017. And then Karen was an alternate from April 5th of 2017, and she actually became a regular member as well on November 8th of 2017. So you all at that council meeting on November 8th back in 2017 were both appointed as regular members. Certainly since that 2016-2017 timeframe, this board has had a number of initiatives that it has, specifically and directly been involved with. So certainly we have some of the overarching things that are Wake Transit, but I'm talking about things that this body has specifically been involved with at a very I would say almost operational level at times, working with staff to get things going. But thinking about those things that are out there, since that time, we had the Go Raleigh station renovation. That was an over $10 million renovation. That facility was built back in the early 80s. It had really seen its useful life, needed to be modernized, and certainly that was a big achievement for this body as we developed a number of grants internally. That was before Wake Transit, that was all planned and executed right there at the time that Wake Transit came online. So all of that had to be, worked out internally. So a big effort there. With Wake Transit, we have implemented over $20 million in new operating projects covering new service areas, higher frequency, and more span, and that's going to continue. So, those are big achievements. We also have now completed the Pool Road Park and Ride lot. Again, that's like a 5-year project in the making. You wouldn't think that it's just a parking lot. Well, it's not just a parking lot. It's a parking lot with the local money, federal money, NEPA, and all of the things that go with those types of infrastructure projects. So that, if you have not seen that, we will make maybe arrangements sometime in 24 to go out there and see that. But please check out that facility. It has electric vehicle charging. It will accommodate Route 18. So it's a beautiful facility. If you can, think about a parking lot as a beautiful facility, that is one. We also purchased the City of Raleigh's first 5 electric buses and have installed up to 11 charging stations for the growth of that program over time. We adopted compressed natural gas as a new bus fuel source. We early, even before 2016 and 2017, we did a feasibility study back in 2015, trying to determine where were we going to go with Go Raleigh as far as our propulsion. We knew that electricity or electric buses were an emerging technology, but they just weren't quite there yet. So we wanted something that would be that stopgap, but a very dependable stopgap. And so since that time, we have 76 new CNG buses, and we've reduced over 25,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases with the use of those vehicles. And we'll actually be on track to be one of the very few transit agencies in the U.S. Burning renewable natural gas sometime in calendar year 24. So that project from our wastewater treatment plant, the Neuse River wastewater treatment plant, will have an agreement with Raleigh Water. They will produce the natural gas from their wastewater treatment plant, and then we'll utilize that to power quite a few of our buses, if not all of our CNG buses on a daily basis. So that's coming down the pipe pretty quickly. We've installed, just in that time period, I mean, we were building bus shelters back before 2017, but since 2017, we've got 125 new bus facilities up here. We've built ourselves. We've also gotten a number of facilities through other partnerships. I don't think those are in that number, but whether that's roadway projects or developments, things of that nature. So really just trying to push the importance of transit and transit infrastructure to build ridership. You reduced ridership benchmarks for bus stop improvements, providing more access to riders. So the board actually took, 25 boardings a day down to, I'm gonna mess this up, 10 boardings a day to qualify for a shelter. I thought I knew it, I just want to make sure. But that obviously more than doubled the eligibility out there for stops that could qualify for those facilities. We have seen over this time period that our riding public expect facilities, and they think that a facility should be at every stop. I'm not saying that that's not going to ever happen. I certainly think we want to prioritize that and continue to prioritize that as we construct shelters and right-of-way facilities. But we know that that is always one of our highest metrics for ridership. What their wants and needs are. Our facilities are always in that top 5. Developed a new pedestal seat policy. That might seem like something very minor, but lots of our stops are very constrained in right-of-way and other elements, which prevents us from putting larger facilities there, or maybe a stop has a development nearby that is new, and all of a sudden we have a large amount of boardings at a stop that traditionally has not had, any boardings hardly at all. So that pedestal seat policy, say that 3 times fast, has allowed us to put those out at those locations, really again as a stopgap to make sure that we do have seating at as many stops as possible. And then one of the biggest ones out there is not something that we can necessarily put our hands on, like a new facility or a park and ride lot or even a bus shelter, but it's really our Go Raleigh management transition. So for over 30 years, really since the creation of what used to be Capital Area Transit, and now we've moved our name into Go Raleigh. That particular contractual structure has always been a management fee contract, so a fixed management fee along with pass-through cost. And certainly over time, contractual, I think, needs from local government, which like City of Raleigh, as well as from companies changes over time in order to be relevant and to have competitive bidding as well as quality companies wanting to provide service to the City of Raleigh for transit services. We restructured that entire program. That doesn't sound like a lot, but I think you all saw the proposal document and then the hundreds and hundreds of pages of documentation that took us to respond to and working with the board through interviews, to choose a company that are a TP Dev, which is our current company now. So that was a huge milestone. Certainly, I've been here over 18 years, and this is the first time I've had this contract structure. So those are big changes that we've done over time. The Access program, we have implemented new software, if nobody was aware. I'm sure everyone is aware. But that was another, initiative out there that, again, we had not had that type of software in the 18 years that I've been here, and this board has, seen that transition. Certainly, we had some strong comment when that first rolled out, but I think that product now is very stable. Our riders seem to like it as well. And so, we continue to move forward with the partnership that we have with RATP Dev and all of our very important taxi vendors that we utilize on a daily basis. Those are just a few things out there. I could probably continue to go on, and certainly want to give you, Madam Chair and Ms. Range, the opportunity to make some comments as well when you all come up. But at this time, I will say that the gavel and the bass are actually the chairs, so she will take that with her. If you're watching from home, you can say, out of order, out of order. But from there, we'll bring these plaques out and take some photos and have some memories. So come on up, please.
Both of us?
Please. We'll go down front. You all probably. I'm gonna have to go to the podium where I can be on a mic, or they'll fuss at me at RTN. All right, our first plaque here goes to Ms. Karen Renge, in appreciation of your dedicated service on behalf of the Raleigh Transit Authority, April 5th, 2017 through November 9th, 2023. I think that varies just a tad from what I said earlier, but right in that time frame. So I will present this to you, and then I'll give you something nice to put it in to make sure it doesn't get messed up. You gonna get both of them up there first, or you wanna just do one and one? We'll do one and one. One and one, then Bruce? Yeah. All right, and so next, Ms. Tolulope Omakaye, which has served as our chair, obviously, for the last, a little over 2 years now, or if not 3. Yeah, so, been a while. My apologies. I think I left all my notes over there. But in appreciation of your dedicated service on behalf of the Raleigh Transit Authority, January 2016 through November 9th, 2023, that did pick up your interim time there as well as an alternate. But thank you so much. So I'm sure you have a few words to say, so I'm gonna vacate and here, make sure you take these with you when you go as well, but I'll give the podium to you both. I go first? Or, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd like a picture with Tolulope.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We got a series. We need to take a picture.
You gotta stop over here with David, and then we can do them without David if you don't want. That'd be good. 1, 2, 3. David, hop up. 1, 2, 3.
I mostly just want to say thank you. It's been an honor serving with all of you and with our awesome staff for all of these years. We've certainly seen people come and go, and I speaking specifically, for the marketing team, who I work with the most directly on the marketing committee, I think we've got the strongest staff we've had in that area since I've been here, and I entrust you all to move forward. We've got a lot of exciting things to come, and so the work you're doing is so vital. I also want to say thank you to the Davids for answering all of my many questions over the many years and listening to my ideas and my encouragement and pushing along the way. And I may still have some ideas that I just feel like I have to get off my chest over the years. I want to say that, in my view, this is the most exciting time for expanding public transit for Raleigh for the last several years, and moving forward, it's only going to get bigger and more exciting. And we're doing really important work for increasing access to this community, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of you. And I look forward to seeing what's to come. So thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair, for putting up with me all these years. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. And obviously, Karen was with Wake Up Wake County, which is one of the agencies that certainly pushed the half-cent sales tax and ultimately is setting the future for transit within Wake County. So a lot of work pre-Transit Authority, and certainly carrying that through the Transit Authority for over 6 years. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try not to get emotional, right? Thank you all for, first I wanna thank staff. You all work tirelessly. You all, I do not envy your jobs. You have important work to do, carrying this city forward. So thank you for putting up with us. I'm getting emotional. Thank you for putting up with us. Thank you for allowing our passion to be able to be displayed in this place for who we care about too, which is the ridership and our operators and the system. Thank you for letting me and us make your jobs a little bit harder to make transit a little bit better for everyone. Thank you to the Davids for putting up with us, me. But you know where my passion comes from, so I thank you for that. Thank you for answering our emails. Thank you for being experts and professionals in transit, and that's what we definitely need. I want to thank the RTA for our service. It's important, the work that we're doing. It's very easy to get here and not saying just listen to staff and move on, but we represent the ridership, right? We're volunteers, and our input is really, really important. So it's important for us to make sure that we're doing our part in the accountability chain, right? To make sure that transit is great for everyone, that it continues to be progressive responsibly. I want to thank our operators, our engineers, everyone that makes Go Raleigh go forward. I hope that I have left some measure of a legacy of fighting for equity and caring for others, even if it meant being righteously indignant or extremely passionate. I think you all know where that comes from, my heart, because I care. This city is important. It is a critical time for this city. In transit and all other ways, so us playing our part to make sure that we're protecting that and growing it responsibly is really, really, really important. And I hope that as I leave, that is the legacy also. I don't want to add it as a, goodness gracious, told you wasn't gonna let me do this at brunch. I do want to add that I asked that in my absence, and maybe as the other Transit Authority members are here, that maybe a measure is passed to suggest to City Council that we add an operator back to the Transit Authority, because as we represent the ridership, they represent the operators, and the decisions that we make impact both of those populations. So having their voices heard is important. And since we removed that, we've seen an uptick in more operators coming and speaking because they feel like they don't have that voice there. So I thank you all. Thank you for putting up with us. Thank you for letting me be long-winded. Thank you for letting me be emotional and cry, because this has been a major part of my life for a significant amount of time. It is a chapter closed. I am grateful. I'm glad I get to take my gavel, and that is all.
Yeah, we had to repair the gavel a couple of times, so we figured we might as well let her take it with her. But
It's got some work that's going on.
you know I'm joking there. But all right, Madam Chair, we'll turn it back over to you.
Goodness. Okay. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is our committee reports, and we'll start with our route committee.
All right. So we have an update. I don't know if we have the presentation for that, for the FY25 work plan. I don't know if we have it. Nope. Okay. So one of the recommendations that the board, the committee came up with was talking about Route 18L. Our recommendation has been approved and tested, but it's going up to the higher ups to implement that. Hopefully they approve of it. There was no lost in time. So what the new route will do will come down, leave Battle Ridge Shopping Center, go to Pool Road Park and Ride, and move up to New Hope Road to the future transit hub. And then the return route will go back down New Hope and then stop at the Park and Ride and proceed back to Battle Ridge Shopping Center on Barwell and Rock Quarry. So thank you for staff for looking into that and accepting that recommendation. Part two was the 7L? The 7L was removing one of the shopping centers, but that has been added back on, as well as keeping Habitat for Humanity within the route, so there was no change in that. So it's going back to the existing plan. So hopefully that gets approved and implemented into the FY25 going forward. Any questions or concerns? No? All right. The next one is the public engagement that's coming up. I don't know if there's a presentation about that, but it was brought to our attention that there is open comments coming up. So we as a board should actually make sure our comments are heard, not just in committee, but actually on the, when the link comes out from, I think it's a Go Triangle, I think that's where it's coming from. But when the link comes out, we all need to comment and give our input. So it's open to the public, but it's open to us as well. Our comments do matter. So everyone does read that and see that. Any questions?
Yes, what are the public comments for? Is that on those route changes?
Route changes and overall plans.
The overall work plan for FY25?
Yes. So anything you want to see or needs to change, we need to put our comments in there. Hold on one second. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. I'm about to say council member. I had to think what I was saying. Authority member Truman had asked, I believe, at the last meeting to have that we come back with some information on public engagement and when those opportunities are. So we kind of rolled through that at the route committee last month. We didn't talk specifically about any upcoming other than maybe this FY25 work plan that will be going out early in January or late January, early February. But basically we were just given, there are annual opportunities multiple times throughout the year, specifically with the work plan updates, where we reach out to the public, we ask for comments at a draft level, and then we come back and we ask for comments at a recommended plan level. And so there are always multiple opportunities, and Andrea and her team put together our weekly updates that come out, and there are always links in there if there are active engagement periods where you can click on links, complete surveys, provide your comments. And I guess the main takeaway that we were trying to get across at Route Committee was your comments are heard, your comments are repeated, as staff when we're participating in the TPAC committees and TPAC processes. But it's important for you as individuals, as citizens of Wake County, citizens of Raleigh, and as board members to provide your own specific comments because they do get heard. You know, we can stand up and say our board wants to do this, our board would like to do that, but you should be, providing some of those individual comments yourselves. So that was the main takeaway we were trying to push back or provide, was that when there's an opportunity, please take it.
Thank you, David. And also, too, if you can share it with your friends and family and to the public, that'd be great as well. I think that's all we have. We did have one request from Madam Chair about the route on, I don't think it's up here, but I forgot the bus number, on Wake Forest Road or Falls in the News. It was about visually the timing of the route. Staff did look at that, so I think we're going to, Melanie, if you correct me if I'm wrong, we're moving back about a few minutes to improve the stop. Melanie did an on-site assessment, so hopefully the new time change will make it better for the riders. So, you're welcome. Thank you, Melanie. That's it for me.
Thank you for that. I'm going to pause the meeting for a moment at 4:03. I think we have for public comments, if we have any.
Hello, my name is Jonathan McDonald. I live in the College Park neighborhood of Raleigh. I am very excited for BRT and city staff. I want to thank y'all for that wonderful event y'all put out on Tuesday. It was fabulous. My one question is on a cutout on Edenton and Salisbury. That is one of the most highest transfer points I'm seeing for the system. And it's backing up traffic when those buses have to stop there. So if there's a way we can make a cutout for the buses to pull into so traffic can still keep flowing, I think that would improve that stop a lot better. And also adding possibly a bench there. I know the land is owned by the state, so it might take a little partnership with them on that. But I think it would be something that would be worth considering and getting done. Thank you for your time.
I was just going to say, that is an active stop under development, and we can provide some general information right now. That will be one of our, what we call more of our larger transit stops or enhanced transit stop, ultimately having real-time passenger information, larger shelters, more seating. So that is slated for that. I'm not sure because
Talking about under B or under Bus Rapid Transit.
Now, this is just at the intersection of Edenton and Salisbury, where that stop is located. And
Education building, right?
that is that's the education building, correct?
Okay.
There on the Capitol Square. So we have worked with the state and got their clearance for our designs. I do not think that has any type of curb cut necessarily, but it will take, there may be some buffer right now between the roadside and the curb, and that will be removed so that we can probably get over further than we can currently. But we do realize that is a growing area, and we're trying to accommodate that. We think that this design will certainly help with that. Just wanted to let the board know that is under review, and if you want some more information on that, we'll be glad to bring that back at a future meeting or a route committee meeting.
Is that in the current set that's under design, or will that be in a future one?
It's already in the next construction set, so hopefully it will be constructed in the summer.
Okay.
Before we move on to the next public comment, what did you say your name was again, sir? Jonathan. You've come to the RTA meetings a few times, and you voice really, really great opinions. You may want to consider joining the RTA. We have.
Considering joining, I haven't.
So
It's on my thinking list.
you're already here. You might as well just pull the trigger and come on
But please,
and join.
please
Think
keep
about it.
coming back with helpful comments. Thank you.
Yeah, as you consider and then join. All right. Yes, ma'am. Or
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kim Shreve, and I've been riding the bus for many, many years. And I am writing to you and coming here because about 6 months ago that there was a group of at least 5 young black kids hanging around Moore Square, and the group kept growing larger and larger, and the supervisors never would do or seem to say anything to them. And they all seemed to had quit school, and they were riding the buses every day. And as a group on the back of the buses, that they were really loud, screaming MF at every other word, and they were smoking and drinking on the back of the buses. And the supervisors at Moore Square would never say anything to them, and they seemed to be hanging around the supervisors a whole lot. And the businesses around downtown were starting to get worried too, because of the trouble that they were starting to cause. And in due time, they started robbing people of all ages in the park and hitting them. And when they started threatening me, it was probably about 12 of them by then. And when they started threatening me, I told them that they better leave me alone. I didn't have time to put up with such stupidness. And so, as a group, they ran by me and they stole my phone and they broke it on the sidewalk. And when I reported the incident to the judge and to Moore Square, I was trespassed for at least 3 months. And this is what kind of stuff is going on down Moore Square. And so I'm getting in touch with the federal judge now. I got her papers. She told me, she gave me a bunch of papers, and she said, fill them out, and she's going to get it straight. She said she's not going to put up no bull. The bull's over. Because they're playing around. That they're just playing around. Okay? And then, on October the 5th, in front of New Bern Library, me and a guy had a disagreement at the bus stop. When he hit me, I said I would call the cops. When the 15 bus came, he ran and jumped on the bus to take off running. I sat down on the bench to just relax because he had hit me and he had dragged me across the sidewalk. Craig Wogby, who was a supervisor, or so I think he is. I'm almost sure that's who he is. He's short with long gray hair. From Moore Square, pulled up with 5 Raleigh cops. And after they talked at Mr. Wogby's vehicle from 10 to 15 minutes or more, they orally trespassed me again. And I said, what am I trespassed for? What have I done? I never put my hands on the man. I'm just sitting here. I haven't done anything. And he said, you're trespassed. Okay? So I just had a whole lot to do that day, and the number 15 came around again. And so I thought, I'm not going to listen to this. And so I ran and jumped on the 15 again, and as soon as I did, I was arrested. I was arrested again for oral second-degree trespass. And and I think this time I was put on a psych unit and stripped naked. I was put on a psych unit and stripped naked. And so, and that's what they're doing to me now. And when they're doing that to me, when they're stripping me naked, that they're all looking in at me like this. And so when I got out of there, I went down to the federal courthouse and told them about it. I told them about it, and they were like, "Oh my God!" And they said, "No, they didn't do that." And I said, "Yes, they did. Yes, they did." And they said, "Here, honey. Here's you some papers. Here's you some papers. Just write them up and tell us what's going on.
Your name was?
Just write them up and tell us what's going on. And Judge Flanagan will take care of it."
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you repeat your name again?
Kim Shreve,
Can you spell that last name for me?
Shrreve. And I was put on that psych unit about 3 times, and they stripped me naked.
Can we get your contact information so we can follow up, and find out about these incidents?
And another thing I want to tell you is one of those cops in the park. In the park, he just got in trouble today. He was a sergeant. He came up to me in the park with 5 officers, and I had on shorts. And he started booting me up on the pole, on my boobs and stuff. He got up on my boobs and started rubbing them up on me. And I told him, I said, "Get the hell off my boobs now." Because I didn't even do anything to him. And he said, "Shut up." And he said, "Sit down now."
Ms. Shreve, we really appreciate you sharing this.
I'm just telling you what they're doing. They are harassing people real bad. And Judge Flanagan had found out about it a while back, and she done straightened out some of them, and she done told me in a letter. She said, "If I find out any of them are screwing up like that," she said, they're going out on the road. She said, "I'm not going to tolerate state workers doing that."
Well, I did want to tell you that we are aware that there have been problems, security issues around the bus station and on the buses, and the city staff are having serious conversations, and they're discussing hiring extra security to help protect people like you from incidents that you're discussing. And we'd be glad to follow up with you on a one-on-one basis to hear more of your concerns. So I understand, and I can understand your fears and concerns, and we are aware of what's happening.
Why
David
am
Walker
I
and-
trespassed?
So I'm going to get David Walker, and Logan can help him out. and they're going to get with you. That we want your contact information, as they stated, so that we can follow up with you, so that we can check on that. We'll get with our operations staff and make sure that we understand exactly what the issues are. But obviously, we're not going to be able to resolve that right this moment. So I think that certainly with their dialogue, we can certainly get with you and try to make sure that we help you and understand your story. But certainly, just as this body stated, we do appreciate you being here today. And again, this isn't the end of the conversation. We want to have that with you. And again, David Walker here, as well as the other staff members, are here to support you and try to make sure that we can come to some resolution, okay?
Okay, I didn't
Thank you, ma'am.
even have no bond getting out of jail or anything. I didn't have no bond. They just kept me in jail and wouldn't let me out. Even when a judge had said to let me out, they wouldn't let me out. They were just picking on me. That's all they were doing.
Ms. Shreve, we're so sorry that those things happened to you, especially if they've affected you the way that they have. We definitely want to make sure that the transit system is safe for everyone. Thank you for coming forward with us. Please share your contact info so we can follow up with you.
And the cops are good friends with them downtown, and the cops pick on people.
Does that conclude our public comments?
I do not think we have any more public comments at this time. Nope, that is it, Madam Chair.
All right, then I will call this meeting back to order for 18 p.m., Thursday, November 9th. Our next committee report is the Finance and Policy Committee.
I can report out in Linda's absence. So I'll just go top to bottom on the agenda. We have finished our first draft of the bylaws, and thank you. I get to steal the show. I think that was like Linda's thing, but anyway, she's cheering at home right now.
By the way, and if people didn't know, Linda Davis is having foot surgery.
Yeah,
So-
she's recovering.
Yep, thanks. So we sent a note, help me out, David. We want to get it distributed to all the board members and really encourage you to review them, take notes, send feedback, and hoping to get it up to possibly adopting or voting in our January meeting. Yeah. So we'll get it out.
Yeah, that's my interpretation of Linda, what Linda was hoping to accomplish. I think we've already got that link out. I'll check, but that link should have already gone out to the full body in a document that can be edited. So we would, again, ask the board as a group to review that document, make any changes or edits. Your edits are going to be shown as just your edits within that document. And then collectively, we can make sure that all of those are good. But yeah, we'll get that out to everyone. If that, I'm pretty sure, again, it's gone out, but we'll do that a second time just to make sure. So those edits can be made. Would go back to committee with the edits from this body. The committee would review those edits and then bring it potentially to the full body in January for adoption. Now, after that adoption, that doesn't mean that that's the bylaws. That's the version of the bylaws that would then go to the city attorney's office, just to make sure that everything in there is legal to Robert's Rules of Order, to whatever that may be. And then they would come back from the attorney's office and then would go to council for formal adoption, for this body, just to give you a foreshadow of the steps involved. So thank you.
I have a question about the bylaws. Maybe you can answer them. When we had an orientation with the city staff, I recall there was a proposal, suggestion that any board or commission also serves as secretary and taking notes for future meetings. And I don't know where that stands, but I also was wondering if in our bylaws, there have been any changes or proposed changes reflecting that.
I don't know. I don't think we,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Just something you might want to look at.
Like maybe in the future, instead of us just having a chair and a vice chair, having a chair, vice chair, and a secretary?
If that's a requirement that is being required of all boards and commissions. Not that I necessarily think it's a good idea.
For us to take our own minutes.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about that earlier.
We discussed kind of it's more like what's happening today, so it would be a change, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Today, it's more like meetings are summarized by staff
Correct.
versus what you're proposing.
Well, I'm not proposing it, but
Okay.
it was, and maybe you weren't.
Or are you asking
may not
to
have
be
been-
consistent with what are the other boards?
If it's a requirement
Well, I
for
think it's a
our
requirement
boards.
from city council, isn't it, that all the boards and commissions now maintain our own minutes?
It is certainly suggested that the boards and commissions have control of that process. That is correct.
Well, just something to toss back around and consider if y'all haven't gotten to
I
that
mean,
point
it just,
yet.
if we need a secretary, maybe that should be part of our bylaws, that's all.
Or maybe the vice chair takes the notes, since we already have the position.
Right.
Because she's not busy.
Yeah. Well, she's the chair now. After this, that would be her. That would be her.
All right. Cool. So
Thank you.
we'll go from there. Next, we went over this Title VI report related to return to fairs, and what did I write? So, in the event that we do return to fairs, we need to evaluate the impacts to low-income and minority riders, and we're doing a presentation. So, this document is. Or this presentation is attached in board docs, and I encourage others to look at it. It's a good read, or at least a quick glance. But it's basically a big equity analysis, and yeah, I'll let David go from here.
Yeah, for a Title VI report, it's relatively short and not a difficult read. So anytime there's a fare change, a Title VI, it triggers a Title VI equity report be prepared. Title VI, of course, was created with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Any transit agency with 50 or more peak period vehicles in operation have to require or abide by the Title VI regulations. There's a two-step evaluation process where you review minority populations as defined by any population other than white, and low-income populations as defined by passengers making less than the, well, in this case, $25,000 per year. That's the when you do a Title VI evaluation, you have to determine if the changes you're looking at making are major or minor, and anything to do with a fare change that would be increasing your fares is automatically considered a major change. So it does trigger the Title VI equity report be completed. Therefore, that's what we'll be talking about today. So just to recap where we are today, we're currently suspended, so there is no charge to ride the bus. Our actual fare structure is shown on this slide. A single trip on one bus is $1.25. If you know you're going to need to make more than one trip on one bus, the day pass cost is $2.50, so most people end up making that option and buy the day pass. We do have options for a weekly pass for $12 and a 31-day or monthly pass at $40. But as I said, we've been suspended since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. But as we look to potentially returning to fare collection, one of the first things that you have to do in that process is get this Title VI report completed. So what does the evaluation look like for minority passengers? Again, that's defined as any person riding that is not white is categorized as a minority. As you're doing this report, there is a 3% variance that's allowed. So you look at your system-wide population of minorities, and then you look at what the percentage of population using any individual fare type is. And if it's more than 3% over the system-wide total, then it triggers, or it's referred to as a disparate impact. So this next slide actually shows you the statistics for that analysis that was performed. So system-wide, our minority ridership is 77.5%. And then the second column shows the percentages of riders purchasing the fare type of cash, day pass, and either 7-day or 31-day passes. So again, the system-wide overall average is 77.5%. The percentage of riders that buy a cash fare, either they pay $1.25 or they pay $2.50 for a day pass, is 81.9% and 81% respectively. That is over the allowable 3% variance, which would be 80.5%. So bringing fares back would create a disparate impact on minority passengers that pay for a cash fare or the day pass, purchase the day pass. For riders purchasing the 7-day weekly pass or the monthly pass, it does not exceed, as a matter of fact, it's lower than the overall total percentage of minority riders. So there is no disparate impact for the weekly pass purchases and the minority or monthly pass purchases. Similar evaluation is done for low-income passengers, and our Title VI program allows a 5% variance from your system-wide averages on the low-income ridership. Next slide shows the actual statistics from this analysis. So system-wide, 71.6% of our riders are considered low-income riders. They make less than 25% or $25,000 annually. The percentage of riders that purchase a cash fare or well, just sticking with cash fares at this point, is 78.3%, which is above the allowable variance of 76.6%. So there is a disproportionate burden on low-income riders that purchase with a cash fare on board the bus. Riders purchasing day passes and the 7-day and 31-day monthly pass, that percentage is lower than the allowable variance, so there is no disproportionate burden on the low-income riders for the day passes or the 7 and 31-day passes, but there is for those that purchase a cash fare. So what does all of this mean? If you look at this table, it shows that basically just spells out what we just covered. Minority riders, 2 of the 3 categories studied, returning to fares will create a disparate impact for those purchasing cash fares or cash day pass purchases. And it's a disproportionate burden on low-income riders only for the cash fare purchases. Anytime you have a disparate impact or disproportionate burden, then we're required to consider mitigation strategies for those impacts. And that's what this next slide shows. So the study recommended that we consider discounted fare programs. It recommends that we consider fare capping. It recommends a fair product distribution partnership where we make our fares more accessible to persons outside of the bus. So it's a little bit easier for them to make those purchases or be able to purchase that fare before they actually step up on the bus. They recommend that we potentially look at discounting service based on time periods where you may have extra capacities. So pre-pandemic, you would see large spikes of ridership in the peak periods, people going to work, for their 8 to 5s and when they're returning home. Since the pandemic, we've actually seen their ridership kind of balance out over the course of the day. So we really don't have those non-off or off-peak periods of ridership. There's a little bit, but not a lot. But that is still a service or a mitigation strategy that could be considered. And then you can also consider fare-free routes. If you've got certain routes that have a much higher percentage of low-income or minority riders, you could consider potentially creating some of those routes as fare-free. This is a slide that some of you may have seen in the past, but we wanted to just bring this forward to talk about existing low-income programs that we have that exist today. Obviously they're not being used today because we're fare-free, but 32% of our total annual ridership rode for free pre-pandemic through our senior citizens 65 and up get to ride free policy, through our 12 and under policies for children that get to ride for free. The Wake Transit Plan funded a youth Go Pass that allows youth 13 to 18 to ride for free. Our TDM program works with downtown employers and employers in general, universities to develop Go Pass programs. Go Pass programs are funded by an employer as a benefit for their employees. If they participate, then they get a Go Pass program where they can hand out passes to their employees to be able to ride the bus for free. And we also offer 25% discount of day passes, weekly passes, and monthly passes to nonprofits. And pre-pandemic, we sold on average about 100,000 of those passes annually. And that makes up the 32% of our ridership that rode for free pre-pandemic.
Are those passes to nonprofits annual passes or day passes?
Typically, they buy day passes, and then they hand them out for free at their individual locations. And then on top of the free programs that we have, an additional 12% of our total ridership rode at about a 50% discount. FTA requires that persons with disabilities or Medicare card holders be offered a reduced fare program at 50% of the standard fares, and that totaled about 12% of our total ridership. So all in all, about 44% of our ridership pre-pandemic was either riding for free or for half fare. So we have what we believe is a fairly good low-income program already. There's always ways to improve on that. We'll obviously, part of our mitigation strategies will be looking at additional low-income fare programs that we may be able to implement. One of the other mitigation strategies was fare capping. You've probably heard us talk about that, those that have been on the board for a while. Pre-pandemic, we were going through the process to bring on board a mobile ticketing partner. We got almost to implementation when the pandemic hit, so it never got implemented, but that mobile ticketing project will include a fare capping piece to it. So we've already got that ready to deploy as soon as we get authorization to return to fares if and when that happens. Yes.
The fare capping that is proposed.
No, fare capping will happen when and if we return to fares with
who gets fare? How do you qualify for fare capping?
Anybody that rides and uses the mobile ticketing app you're automatically being recorded. So the way the mobile ticketing app will work, you'll have an account. You go on the app, you create an account for yourself. You can buy your day passes, your weekly passes, your monthly passes through your mobile phone. If you're buying day passes, then it's tracking. So every day, if you're an everyday rider, on the 5th day, you will have paid as much as a weekly pass. So on the 6th day, it recognizes that you've already paid for a weekly pass, and it automatically upgrades you so you get to ride the next 2 days for free. And then similarly, the next week it's tracking again.
Okay.
And over a 30-day period, it recognizes when you've paid enough for a monthly pass. And sometime early in that 3rd week, you get upgraded to a monthly pass if you're an everyday rider. So you don't have to sign up, as long as you're using that mobile ticketing app, then you'll be part of that program and be able to receive that benefit.
Helps with cash flow, obviously, for individuals that may not be able to purchase a monthly pass, but once they reach that monthly pass, again, as David stated, they would get the rest of that month at the monthly pass rate. It's a great program.
Yep. So again, we're presenting this just as information. The Finance and Policy Committee asked us to bring this for you to review. The actual document is available on board docs for the board to review, and then we'll be coming back in January and ask for approval or for adoption of the policy or of the document. That's again, it's a Title VI. It's required by FTA if we're considering returning to fares, so we have to get that completed and adopted by our board and on file. And then again, if there's disparate impacts or disproportionate impacts on low-income riders, then we have to provide those mitigation strategies. So we've got recommended strategies in the document. We'll continue to look at those and review other potential options that we have as we move closer to return to fare. And of course, we'll get our direction on that from City Council.
I just had a question about the existing programs, because the Title VI data is somewhat based on existing ridership information. Are those existing discounted programs taken into consideration when they're figuring out the burden and the impact, or not? Does that make sense?
Well, the burden is a simple statistical review of your actual data. So you either are a minority or you're not. And if the percentage of minorities buying a cash fare is more than the system-wide average plus 3%, then that automatically triggers that disparate impact.
I guess I was just curious if the riders that were previously included in the free and the discounted fares are included in that count, in that data.
They're still a minority, whether they're paying or not. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Was there a Title IV report done for the New Bern Avenue BRT corridor? Just curious about the total impact.
The Title VI, so not specifically Title VI, but certainly, I mean, it would follow the national or the NEPA process. So certainly it did have a completed NEPA document. When it says, so generally a NEPA document is considered as an environmental document, but it is much broader than just an environmental document. I'm not a NEPA expert, but certainly it did follow that federal process. That is correct.
Okay. Do we have access, or is there public access to that report?
I'm pretty sure there is, but we can provide that link if the board would like it.
Yes. Well, I know I want it. I don't know if they want it, but I know I would like it.
All the documents all the time.
All of them. She wants it. We want it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just in regards to that, not a question, but in regards to that, just my 2 cents. I think that we do, of course, need to return to the fares. I think that having a program for low-income people is a great idea. I do think we need to increase our fares, to be honest, because we are about to face something of a tough time in transit when it comes to our financials. And I think that as the average median income increases in this city, the people that move in can afford, if they're riding the bus, to pay free fares. And if those that are low income, we have a program to cover them so that they're not impacted by the increase in fares. I think that may be something we should consider also. $1.25 is very low for the bus, especially a system that we're trying to grow and provide more technology and advancement to. And if we're going to create a program that will cover people so that they're not impacted by an increase in fares, and I think maybe an additional conversation about increasing them should be had maybe by you all in the future. That's my 2 cents as I leave.
Well, you inspired a question actually now. So we had in the report, there are the prices if, and we're saying return to fares. Does it matter what the prices are if they go up, down, something else? Does this have to be recalculated, this report, if it's different than what you just showed?
We would probably have to get an update to the report that we have. We probably wouldn't have to do an entirely new report, but we would have to do an update to it to reflect that not only are we coming back to, but we're potentially considering an increase.
Anytime they change, we even had to do a Title VI when they went to free for more than a year. So like that one had
Yeah.
no impact, obviously, but we
Sure.
even like officially had to do the report even when they go down.
No, I know doing the report, I'm talking, you have a report for some fare structure, but I believe there's still room for returning to fares, but different than what you showed here.
Yeah, we would definitely have to update the report to reflect what the new proposed fare would be at a minimum. I think the statistical review would be the same. There may be an additional step or two, but I'm not positive on that.
Can you tell us when the I've been here long enough that I recalled fare increases, and there's always public input and comment on that. When was the last fare increase?
2014. And I believe, David, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we went from $1 to $1.25. Council actually approved an increase to $1.50 and $3 for a day pass, but they wanted us to do it in steps. So we did the $1.25 increase and the $2.50 day pass, and then the next step was supposed to be a year or 2 years later. And when that time came, we were in the throes of the Wake Transit Plan push, and we didn't feel like it was appropriate to increase fares at that time while we're asking the public for a half-cent sales tax increase. So that second phase never got implemented. But it was approved back in, was it 2014?
Certainly the $1.25 was approved. I can't remember if it's probably a moot detail, but I can't remember if the full 150 was approved or if it was the $1.25 was approved. But the overall plan was a 3-year plan for going from $1 to $1.25, and then 24 months later going to $1.50. So, but that was the original plan back then.
Well, I think now with inflation and things, that whole measure would have to be looked at again. But again, I think it may be something worth the Transit Authority considering, especially if we're going to implement a program for low income or people who can't afford to cover the cost of the bus, because those who can should, in my opinion, pay for the bus. And I don't think very many people have an expectation of free public transportation, in my opinion also. So they would be willing to pay in my mind. And these are all I statements as I exit the Transit Authority and have no control over what happens when I leave here.
Public comment is always welcome.
I'm gonna come back and harass y'all. I'm gonna be the new Dwight. I have a question. I have another question about I'm sorry. When we passed the sales tax so that we could have fares free for students, and we stopped charging for the bus, we were still charging the sales tax. And where did those funds go if they were not going towards covering free cost of the bus?
You're talking about the Youth Go Pass program?
Yeah.
So the Youth Go Pass program was a project within the Wake Transit Plan. Each agency did estimates on what number, well, actually, I think we did estimates, but ultimately we tracked the ridership of those youth because we actually issued them day passes. They had to swipe when they got on the bus, so we knew how many times they were riding. And then we asked for reimbursement from the tax district for those trips. So Raleigh, City of Raleigh didn't actually lose any revenue because of the Youth Go Pass program. It got paid for by the Wake Transit Plan.
And, I mean, what happens now since we haven't been charging with those funds? They just cycle into helping pay for transit in general?
What happened to the Youth Go Pass dollars?
Yeah.
So each year we do go ahead and request those funds just in case we never knew when the fares were going to return. But ultimately, if we don't use those dollars that are budgeted, it goes back to the financial model.
Okay. Thank you.
David, I have one last question. So one of the recommendations is making fares accessible or access, I guess, to the stand. Have we identified locations where people can actually purchase the passes outside of downtown, like in the future, looking at future sites going forward?
Pre-pandemic, we did have some, although limited, locations outside of the bus and downtown. We partnered with Harris Teeter grocery stores, and they had day passes in their stores, so anybody could go in and buy a day pass at those locations. I don't think there was a huge number, maybe a half a dozen throughout the city. We have ticket vending machines at a few locations, so potentially we could expand that program and have more of those in locations for folks to use. But certainly that will be as one of the mitigation strategies is we will work with additional partners or locations to where we may be able to provide those.
Yeah, David, one thing just to kind of foreshadow real quick. A lot of the strategies are things that are already available, but things that we're also looking at. So certainly if you have a mobile ticketing, that would be accessible to those with a cell phone. But beyond that, we would like to have our system available to accept any Visa or MasterCard purchase. So if you had a debit card or a gift card, as long as it was Visa or MasterCard certified, you could just tap it on the bus and go. Or you could use any card that you have that has Visa or MasterCard. So ultimately, that would be available on every bus, every platform throughout the network. That we don't really have to think about a fare if you use any type of electronic payment format at any grocery store or any location. You could use that to board a bus. So don't know exactly what that looks like yet. We are looking, starting to just think about those technologies and how that could be certainly worked into our existing system. We do know that those can be worked into our existing system that we now have in place for our mobile ticketing. It's just getting the hardware on the vehicles that would allow that tap and go from a standardized type of payment process. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's not going to solve today's problems,
Right.
but things that we are looking at to advance the accessibility and availability of fare options.
I would recommend looking outside of Harris Teeter, because Harris Teeter is not in all of the bus routes, so look at other partners.
Especially if the majority of the ridership is African-American,
Right.
low income, then Food Lion would probably be.
Right.
Or Carly C's, like places, those are more in more of those communities. Or even
Or
maybe
the
come up-
library.
Yeah,
Yeah.
library, or even standalone stations, maybe at some of the bus stops where people can put in cash for those that don't have access to bank accounts.
Right. Or to a card as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. So wrapping up this committee report, we also discussed the Go Raleigh access policies, and staff is working on formalizing kind of the expectations we have around working with the providers, the taxi companies, and kind of hold them accountable if they don't meet our expectations. We can kind of enforce that. So we just got an FYI on that effort. And last, got a brief update on financials, which is attached to board docs. So everything's good.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that Finance and Policy Committee report. Marketing Committee did not meet. Do you have anything that you want to say, though?
I will just conclude, although the new chair of the marketing committee is not here, Bryce Connors, but one of the things that I'm most proud of that we have accomplished over the last few years is that we have significantly increased our marketing budget. And moving forward, as we continue to expand routes and as we address things like fares, as we start the bus rapid transit system, I hope that this board will continue to support a significant budget for marketing, because whatever we do, we need to let the public know what their options are. Thank you. And also, be on the lookout for the continued go work, go play, go shop ads that our staff are producing as we're moving into the holidays. Thanks.
I look forward to seeing those ads on the other side.
Yeah, they were.
All right, so it looks like the next agenda item is the general manager's report.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, before I get started with the report, I just want to say, okay, let me get my screen set here. Is I got that right for the presentation? But I can go ahead and brief it over there. Okay. First of all, good afternoon, and Madam Chair, we're going to miss you. And I want to say is we appreciate your service that you have given to the transit community here. You did an exceptional job. And so just want to say thank you. You always challenge the process. Well, in challenging the process, it always challenged all of us to do better, because transportation is changing in so many ways. And if we don't have the people that's challenging the process, then we never get where we need to go. And the community needs that. And this is what it's all about, okay? So getting started, I just want to start out with one is talking about our safety program. It's really, for the month of September, had a really good turnout. We had like 3 preventable accidents, and of course with those 3, based on miles, we was way below our target, which is 1.09, which is a great number to have. So that tells me is the training that we are doing with our workforce is working, as well as injuries on the workplace. That is way down. I think we had 1 for the month, which exceeded our target as well. So safety is really moving in the right direction. So the other one is talking about active employees for the month. For the month of September, it's showing that we had like 172 active operators. But as of right now, we have 183 active operators. And also we have in training, if I'm not mistaken, 18 operators in training. We just started a new class of 3. And behind that, we're going to have a class of 10. And behind that, we have a class of 5. And so in those numbers, what that's going to allow us to do is, starting in January, okay, we will be back to full service. Can I say that, Mr. Walker? All right. So that's the goal and the target what we are trying to achieve. And so I feel very comfortable with us getting to that level. Missed trips in terms of for the month of September was up slightly, but in all, based on the other previous month, is still low. And so we're doing quite well in that area. As of today, based on our hiring requirements and what we have in training right now, is our target has really came down even lower. So our trips in terms of what we miss is really getting better. Ridership, in terms of from the pandemic, where we at, we're still having some challenges. As you know, as we talked about going back to fares and how that's going to affect our ridership in terms of where we at right now. So as we move forward, we'll take a look at that, and hopefully that our ridership will make some difference. But we're still kind of maintaining that same number that we had last month. In terms of on-time performance is slightly down a little bit, but I think that based on a lot of research that we're finding that our calculations may be off a little bit, and not to the worst, but to the good. And so we are hoping, as we finish with our assessment and investigation of it, is that our on-time percentage will be much greater than what it is. I feel very comfortable with it, that we probably have something better. We was doing some studies today in terms of looking at each one of the routes in terms of what was late and what was early. And we found out that there was some discrepancies as we looked at it. But as again, I think we're going to get better. The other one is, I talked about last time I was here, is about our preventive maintenance program, our PMs. Last month, I think we was right close to 100. This month, we are right at 100%. So that means that we have safe vehicles out on the street, and services have been done on those. Two areas that you asked me to talk about in the last meeting, talking about complaints, as it relates to our riders and our employees. Complaints basically in terms of our riders, we had a few areas where it says missed trips, maybe people that was discourteous, and those kind of complaints we had, but they was very minimum based on the number of riderships we had. So that is pretty much going in the right direction. Now, in terms of assaults, for the month, we have had any. So I think that with the support that we have got from the Raleigh Police Department, it has made a huge difference. Every day it seems like things are getting better. The complaints from the operators is beginning to come to be minimum, and that's one of the things that I talk with them on a daily basis, is seeing is things down in the station are getting better. They say things are getting better. They got more visibility with the Raleigh Police Department down there, which people are much more calmer. Of course, still we have some people that is going to be what they are, but all in all, that the police department is working with us to minimize that. So all in all, I think this is a good going away for you. You've really set some hard rules for us to follow, and we did that. And so I'm gonna open it up for any questions at this time.
I have one. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So I know we asked in the reports about the missed trips. So I think we need to be a little more detailed on what the missed trips are.
Sure.
Like why?
Yeah,
and
sure.
What are
not a
some of the
problem.
causes for the missed trips?
Yeah. So basically is to run the service, it requires about 192 operators to run that particular service where we at right now. And as I told you earlier, is we was at 172, now we're at 183. And so based on the lack of resources of manpower, that was one of the reasons why we was missing those trips. But in moving in the future, I feel very strong is that those are going to be very minimum.
So when you say missed trips, not to harp on this, are you talking about the bus didn't run at all, or was it skipped a stop? Like, I think that's the detail we're looking for.
Yeah. So a missed trip can be various things. It could we missed a trip. So that means that, let's say a bus was supposed to go out at 8 o'clock, but didn't get out and say to 10, 11 o'clock. All that's part of a missed trip.
So that's the detail we want to see in the reports.
Okay, sure.
So like, a missed trip can be vague. I need to see the bus didn't show up. That's a no-show.
Okay.
So that granular,
Yeah.
I would like to see in the report, so that way we can see a progression, like, okay, how are we improving on this particular category of missed trips? That makes
Sure,
sense.
not a problem. not a problem.
Sounding like a good vice chair.
First of all, congratulations and well done on getting new bus operators. That is really a big deal, and it's noticed. So thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you too.
My last comment, and all of your metrics are looking really good. Please just keep paying attention to the cleanliness of the Go Raleigh station, so it's kept up for our riders. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add a little bit more, I remember when we first came here, there was a lot of challenging comments. As you can see now, is we're one big family. As I told you earlier when I first got here, is we are going to make that turn, and we have made that turn. We are beginning to work together as a team. And we have really did a really good job doing that. People feel that coming to work now is a good place. Of course, we do have those things down on the bus with people riding and in the station, but as people taking care of each other and listening to one another, I think it really has made a big turn. And one last thing I want to say, I want to do a special thanks to Dave and his staff for the groundbreaking and the BRT program. I just want to say all of you guys did an exceptional job, and I was really, really, really impressed. And I got to say, I've been to quite a few groundbreakings, but it was nothing like this. Absolutely nothing. So that was really good.
Thank you. You have something else? Oh, no. I have a couple questions. I'll go from the end of your last comments at the beginning. Thank you. And I do see that there are more operators that are, that seem to be in a sense of a better place, but there are a lot that are not. Mm-hmm. So I want to challenge you all to, as things get better, that we push hard for 100%, whether we ever attain it, so that we never get complacent on the well-being and the happiness and the satisfaction of our operators and our staff. I want to ask, how are you measuring employee satisfaction?
It's not something that is tangible, I can tell you, but just having a conversation with the employees, looking at the attendance in terms of where it was when we started to where we at right now, looking at the performance in terms of where we were and where we at right now, I think that speaks in volume as to how the employees feel in terms of where they're working at.
Okay. Thank you for that. I do just want to encourage you to continue to also provide anonymous opportunities for employees to give their feedback.
Absolutely.
And don't take it as, oh, well, we're just not going to please everybody, but just always take it as a raise the bar. Mm-hmm. And continue to do that for yourself as a check and balance to keep the whole process honest. Because, again, I know it's not easy. How many complaints per ridership? You said we're getting less per ridership, but you didn't give us a number. How many complaints are we getting per ridership?
I have that in here. Let me kind of film through. I thought my slides was on the presentation. I think it's like ridership. I thought I had it with me, but I don't. But I can definitely get that back to you.
Yeah. Or just in future reports, that being, if it's going to be a metrics that you speak out,
yes,
that there's a report that reflects that.
Sure.
Because I see that you all have done a great job giving us reports on complaints and valid complaints and all of that. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to say how many complaints per ridership, that we just make sure that we're seeing that too.
Okay.
Are operators required to have their CDL prior to training?
So we changed that requirement right now in the hiring process. What they need to have a permit before they're considered to come into the training, and from a commit to a CDL, which they would get in that training part. And then when we first started out, where a person without anything could come in and we would teach them how to get a permit. But we found out based on that it wasn't a big return in terms of what we was getting out of it. We was getting, not as many as we thought. So we went back to our old process that we had.
And how many riders have their permit but obtain their CDL by the end of training?
So 9 times out of 10 is pretty much the ones that have got past the training is usually about 90%.
Okay, thank you for that. Just curious. Those are the questions I have, but thank you.
All right, thank you.
For your kind words. Thank you for your commitment to helping us improve transit here in Raleigh. I meant to acknowledge you while I was up there, but I was getting all, choked up. But thank you.
Well, thank you. All right. And to the new board member, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. And my name is Bill Law. So if you have any comments or concerns, you're always welcome to give me a call and let me know. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bill, I just want, before you walk away, to say that I wrote down January with a big star next to it in my notes. So I'm going to ask you about it the next
You
time
can
you're
hold
up
me to that, okay?
Okay.
All righty.
And then we're at the end, but I want to add something about our vice chair position. As we close out, making sure that we go in with a full seated leadership of the RTA. Is there anybody interested in going ahead and committing as an excellent eagle to going ahead and being the vice chair of the Raleigh Transit Authority?
So I guess I throw my name into the hat.
All right, she is going to be the new
follow
Second it.
between you and Nate. The bar has been said high, but I'll try to slide into those shoes.
Thank you. So, would anybody like to make the motion?
So moved.
I second. All right, so it's been moved and properly seconded that LaTanya will take over as the vice chair of the Raleigh Transit Authority effective, I guess, what is it, January 1, January 1, 2024. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Welcome to the chairship of the Raleigh Transit Authority. All right, so it looks like we've gotten all business done. So if all hearts and minds are clear, thank you again for allowing us to serve on this transit authority. Thank you again for allowing us to be here and give our 2 cents. And I'll call this meeting to close today, Thursday. Do you have something to say?
I just wanted to offer a round of applause for Tululupe Omokoye as our chair.
Thank you. I'll pat myself on the back for that. Congratulations to me for doing this. All right. All right, thank you. And I will call this meeting to a close Thursday, November 9th, 5:09 p.m. Eagle Pride.